9 EastEnders spoilers for next week, 21st to 24th April. 1. Nigel feels smothered. This week, Nigel's dementia worsened as he mistook a pharmacy for the old video store where he worked, believing he was late for his shift and lashing out at the pharmacist. Jean found a confused Nigel and took him back to Phil's house. While Phil covered for his friend, it was clear that Jean was worried and didn't fully believe their explanation for Nigel's condition. Next week, as Nigel's condition worsens, Phil tries to protect him, but Nigel feels suffocated. When Yolande suggests he dress as the Easter Bunny, Nigel sees it as an opportunity to prove to Phil that he's still capable. However, things take a turn when Nigel mistakes hope for Claire, sparking a confrontation with Harvey and prompting Jean, Harvey, and Ian to question Phil about Nigel's well-being. Backed into a corner, he finally reveals all on his dementia diagnosis. 2. Teddy presses on with his new project. A few weeks ago, we discovered that Nicola was the one responsible for the disappearance of Shireen, Harry's ex-girlfriend, who vanished 4 years ago. Harry was the prime suspect in Shireen's disappearance, but the police couldn't gather enough evidence to charge him. Shireen's brother Assad then arrived in Walford, accusing Teddy of being responsible. While Nicola later told Sharon and Zach that Teddy did indeed kill Shireen, we soon discovered that Nicola was actually to blame, having paid a man named Benji to do her dirty work. Nicola was shocked to learn Teddy and Junior were working on a project in Dartford, where Shireen's body is buried. She urged Teddy to focus on his family, but he chose to secretly pursue it. Next week, Nicola overhears Teddy taking a clandestine call from Junior about the project. Teddy is forced to admit that he's still involved and refuses to pull out, despite Nicola's best efforts. Teddy recruits newcomer Ross for the project, and things move quickly. When Nicola arrives to support Teddy, she's shocked to discover the site is where Shireen's body is buried. 3. Avani finds herself friendless. Avani has been doing her best to support friend Lily after Martin's death with her own unique brand of comfort, mainly by smoking weed and drinking together. Last week, when Amy held a party at number 27, Avani's dealers made an unexpected appearance, aggressively trying to peddle their wares on the partygoers. Avani had to get Amy to call Jack and have the dealers removed from the house, despite her efforts to explain that she hadn't invited them and had thrown away the weed. Amy wanted nothing to do with her. Next week, she feels isolated as Amy and Lily ignore her texts. Priya then encourages Avani to have lunch with Barney at McClunkey's, where they make amends. 4. Kojo reveals his dream. When Teddy gives the Knight family an update on the rebuild of the Vic, everyone is overjoyed at the prospect of moving back home. That is, apart from Kojo, who doesn't seem thrilled at the prospect. On Tuesday, Kojo tells his family he wants to move out and live on his own. George isn't convinced it's a good idea, despite Gina trying to persuade him to let Kojo have his independence. Determined to prove that he's got what it takes, Kojo decides to get himself a job and lands a trial shift at the Arches with Harry. What could possibly go wrong? On Thursday, George's worries are eased as Kojo's trial shift is a huge success. He and Harry make a great team, and Kojo lands a permanent role, along with an invite to Nicola's birthday party. 5. Nigel's revelation shocks Phil. At the end of Monday's episode, Phil learns that Nigel plans to end his life if his memory worsens. On Tuesday, they argue about it at number 55, with Phil refusing to listen and leaving angry. With Jean now filled in on Nigel's diagnosis, she arrives at Phil's house, and the pair share a heart-to-heart about his diagnosis, but Nigel keeps quiet about his plans to end his life. Meanwhile, Phil goes to number 25, now home to the Knights after Sonia and Bianca left Albert Square in emotional scenes. He talks to Linda, who encourages him to support Nigel despite his controversial plan. Encouraged by their conversation, Phil returns home to make amends with Nigel, but he's shocked to find the house empty and a goodbye letter on the table. Nigel is planning to leave Walford. 6. Nicola asks Ravi for help. On Tuesday, Teddy tells Nicola construction starts on the Dartford site, making her worry about the body being discovered. She calls Benji for help, but when he can't assist, she turns to Ravi with a job offer. On Wednesday, Nicola celebrates her birthday, but despite Teddy, Harry and Barney pulling out all the stops to celebrate, She's clearly got more important things on her mind. Summoning Ravi to Walford East, she offers him $10,000 to help her hide the evidence. As she heads to the Archers, she lies to Harry about what she's up to as she manages to secure a customer's van for her scheme. Will Ravi be able to hide the evidence before it's too late? 7. Phil tries to talk Nigel out of his plan. On Wednesday, Phil searches for Nigel after he leaves without saying goodbye. With Linda's help, they find him, and after making amends, Nigel agrees to return to number 55. While he and Phil may have made up, it hasn't made any difference to Nigel's plans. He breaks down as he insists that he wants to have the option of ending his life before the dementia takes hold. Phil isn't able to change Nigel's mind, but as Phil later heads to the cafe, a conversation with Yolande gives him food for thought, and he comes up with a plan. Will he manage to talk Nigel around? 8. Phil continues to wind Nigel up. Despite Nigel having opened up to him, Phil can't keep his controlling nature in check, and Nigel continues to be overwhelmed by his overzealous approach to care as we head into Thursday's episode. Later, Phil tells Kathy that Nigel can't continue working in the cafe, the one bit of normalcy that has kept Nigel feeling useful. How will Nigel react to Phil overstepping the mark? 9. Elsewhere. Next week, Zach is deflated when Barney refuses to let him help resolve the issue with Tommy and Joel, who mocked him and filmed Barney's first workout at the boxing den. Things soon go from bad to worse for Zach, who viewers now know is Barney's biological dad. But what happens? Later, Barney frets as Avani accepts his invitation to his mum's birthday party.
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của EastEnders Spoiler TV. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn